Thanks for clicking play, welcome to the video. As you probably guessed from the title, in this video I'm going to be making a cock. Why the hell am I making a cock? Well, actually this is cock 2.0. If you're interested, I'm going to tell a little story and get straight into the build. If you're not, just skip to that section anyway. We're in the middle of the cost of living crisis, money's getting tight, my camper van project has stalled, it's so close to being finished, but I just don't have the money. I need money for tools, money for parts, money for repairs as well. In 2020, during lockdown, there was Zoom calls going left, right and centre, and one of those Zoom calls on Sky News, there was a little object in the background that we found rather funny. Yep, that was a cock in the background on BBC News. So, we all decided that every household should have an ornamental cock. Joking around, obviously. A few months later, a couple of my friends, they bought their first house, and I thought for the perfect housewarming gift, I should make them a cock. I didn't want to make just a tiny cock that they could hide with a book or something like that. No. We had to go big. So I got some timber, stuck it together, bought this weird little thing to start doing carving in it, and just went to it. I'd never done a sculpture before, and yeah, just had a crack at it. Now, the thing actually turned out surprisingly well, and they were actually quite happy to receive my cock.
This better not be a massive penis. Better not be a sculpted dick.
It's a candle holder.
What the fuck are we going to do with this?
Anyway, it turned out that well that apparently a couple of their friends actually asked if I could make more because they wanted to buy one. So ever since then I've been thinking, could I make another one? How would I make another one? Could I make it quicker with less mess? And it's always been in the back of my mind. So here we are, trying to make cock 2.0. This is kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone, 3 birds, 1 stone scenario for me because I've got too much spare wood accumulating. I hate throwing it out, so I'm going to use as much of my spare timber as possible to make this. If it does sell, then I can buy a couple of tools which will enable me to maybe make another one. You know, I'd love to see a pallet cock. Wouldn't love to see a pallet cock, I'd love to make a pallet cock. I've said cock far too many times. Anyway, here's what we're gonna do. Step 1 was removing all the thinnest plywood I had on my scrap wood shelf, which was a lot as it turns out. All of this is 4mm plywood, which means we're gonna need a lot. So I started doing some drawings to try figure out which way was gonna be the best way to make the biggest penis possible. As you can see here, it was gonna take a monumental amount of layers to go vertical. So I did a few more drawings and tried to plan out if I could go horizontal. This looked like the best option, and I realised I could get 2 pieces out of 1 board on these big sheets. But even then, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to achieve the size I desired. So to make sure this project was going to be a success, I had to break out the tape measure, crack out the calculator, and use some of that GCSE maths I never thought was going to be useful. After some Pythagoras level calculations, it was time to start measuring out and cutting the cock. After measuring them out and making sure they were going to fit, I gave them a quick sand down to make the bond better when I applied the glue. Next it was time to add the PVA, smother them up, and add the layers like it was a corner shop sandwich. Once layered up, I used every clamp in my DIY handbag and left it for 24 hours. Once I proved the first one worked, it was time to rinse and repeat. Some of the scrap wood had photo paper stuck to it from an old project, which was a pain in the arse. I had to tear it off, soak it in water, and then start scraping it off with a chisel. After scraping it off, I went over with a sander again to get the best bond possible when I start clamping them. So now what I'm going to do is sandwich as much of the remaining scrap wood in between each one of these sections as possible. Before doing that, I decided to draw a basic outline and cut each piece down to shape. Hopefully, by cutting all these pieces to shape, I will save a lot of time and a lot of mess on the finished product. As you might have spotted earlier, in between each solid board I had to use multiple pieces of scrap wood layered up like a jigsaw just to fill it out. This is because I didn't have enough big sheets of wood to make them all solid layers, and this is also the reason I've had to clamp them up in stages instead of just putting them all together and putting a load of big clamps on them. But hopefully that should add to the effect at the end, maybe?
Stay here right in my arms, and we'll start again. So stay with me. Together we'll fall apart. Oh, you left me bleeding.
Oh God, it's so heavy. It's almost time to start shaping it. Now this is a little preview of the next video possibly. Well, it's another one I'm working on. The shaft is that wide and the nads are wider. I'm gonna have to stick some more pieces on the side around this area so we can kind of go whoop and out. But once they're stuck on, we should be good to go. Well, it's not gonna go that wide because this is all the wood I've got left. So let's just make it work somehow. Gonna pause it for today because I want to get these dried so I can actually stand it up properly and start working on it, because look at this, I couldn't help but give it a quick sand. It's looking amazing. I'm so excited for this one. I'm really struggling with this one. I don't know what to do. I never know what to do, but I don't know what my thought process was on the first one. I don't know how I figured it out, how I shaped it. And this one's got loads of little problems. There's this area at the front here where it seems like this piece is missing. So I'm gonna take a good inch off the front just to make sure they line up. That means this section here needs to come back probably an inch. The base section might be too high. I can't seem to get it to line up in a shape that's gonna look good. Gonna call it for today, I think. That's it for today. The room's filling up with dust, but this thing's looking amazing. I need to order another carving disc and then we'll get back to it. Whilst I was waiting for the new carving discs to arrive, I decided I wanted these side pieces to go out wider, which was a problem because I had no scrap wood. So I grabbed whatever usable 4mm plywood I could find, including some of the offcuts from earlier, and then just stuck them on. And now it kind of looks like Princess Leia, if she was a penis. I was really good. This went out of focus, proper rookie mistake, but hopefully you can kind of see what's going on. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen. I think it was too wide anyway. I'm just gonna carry on, I don't give a fuck.
Every little thing you do, it gets me thinking. By another shot, you got me drinking. Girl, you shut me down and there's no witness. Got me in my feels, she would never listen. All the alcohol is in my liver. I guess I lost and you're the winner. Missing your touch, you were a good kisser. I was born a saint, but now I'm a sinner. Falling for you, for you, for you.
very much ready for sanding. This thing is looking crazy. Can't wait to get it finished and treated, and then it's done and out the way, and I can look at it because it is magnificent.
Can't sleep on my night's rest. Baby girl, you are my best friend, best friend. Little thing you do, it gets me thinking. By another shot, you got me drinking. Could you show me down and there's no witness? Got me in my feels, she would never listen. All the alcohol is in my liver. I guess I lost and you're the winner.
Here we hit another problem. Some of the jigsaw pieces I mentioned earlier in the video appear to have moved whilst it was clamping. And because I've cut so much of the wood back, it's exposed some big holes and some small holes on some sections, and I really don't like the look of them. So sticking to the theme of using all my scrap wood, I decided to gather up as much fine sawdust as possible, fill the hole with PVA, and then jam the sawdust in. And that didn't work that well. So instead, I put the PVA into a pot, dropped the sawdust in, mixed a paste, and it seemed to work a little better. I tried to pack as much into each space as possible and force it down so it's nice and solid, then waited for them all to dry. The next day I came back, started sanding, and crossed my fingers that it had fixed the problem. I wasn't massively happy with the result, but it looked so much better than it did before.
You got me drinking. Could you show me down and there's no witness? Got me in my feels, she would never listen. All the alcohol is in my liver. I guess I lost and you're the winner. Missing your touch, you were a good kisser. I was born a saint, but now I'm a sinner. Falling for you. For you. For you. Falling for you. For you. For you.
As you can see, this thing is looking pretty amazing, and you might think we're close to being done, but you would be massively wrong. Every time you're sanding sections down, you may come across these little nicks and imperfections, which means fixing them, resanding them. On camera, you're probably not going to see it change shape that much whilst I'm doing it, and it's pretty boring. So I think we're just going to skip to the finished product.
I just wish you knew.
And here it is, the finished product in all its glory. Now I'm going to try and keep this outro as short as possible because I know this thing has been quite long. Long. So this is kind of an experiment for me, and it's been hilarious, but I'm just so impressed at how well it turned out. Like, I didn't realise there was different types of plywood in this thing. When you look around it, you can see different shades, different kind of ways it's been layered, different colours. And yeah, it's just so amazing. I can't believe how smooth it's turned out. Now the base I filed down a little bit, but I haven't actually finished that section because whoever buys it, I want them to be able to kind of appreciate how cool this is, but then when you look underneath, they'll be able to see where it came from and appreciate it a bit more, hopefully. Now we just cut from the boring sanding to the finished product. In between that, lots of boring sanding happened, and then I applied some layers of varnish with some really fine sandpaper to get it super smooth and super shiny. Before I did the varnishing, I tidied up the workshop, and I found I had loads of these tiny little pieces left over. And as we remember from the side bits, they actually became useful. So I'm going to have a think and see if there's any way I can utilise these tiny scrap wood pieces. And then we'll have virtually no waste from this project at all. Now that it's finished, it kind of does remind me of some Wobie design videos. Obviously, you know, you get inspiration from everywhere. Do watch his videos, they're awesome. If you haven't, you should do. He just makes anything out of broken skateboards. It's amazing. And if somehow this does get to Wobie, I challenge you to make a broken skateboard penis sculpture that is better than this one. Now, as I also said at the start of the video, I'm kind of doing this to try to sell it and make some money. If this does manage to sell, all that money is just going to go straight back into tools, and I will make more cocks. So if you've got a rich friend who's interested in a fertility statue, tag them in this video, let's get it sold, and then you guys could end up making me make cocks for a living. That'd be a really weird thing to say, but also hilarious. If you made it this far, thanks very much for watching, and yeah, there is another one on the way, so that should be coming out soon. But for now, yeah, that's it. Take it easy.